Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Evil Safety Dudes. I am your host, Mr. Aaron Iacino. I'm the Director of Risk Management for IBC, and this is IBC's podcast on all things employee health, safety, environmental security, any hazard to an employee that exists. We talk about if it's how not to get COVID for a traveling musician, to how not to trip on the road if you work on the side of the road. Anything and everything to do with employee safety, we're going to talk about it on this show. And I am excited, and I know I say that every single episode, but I'm always excited about our guests. Today we have on the podcast Cordelia Fitcheard-Allen. How are you doing, Cordelia?
I'm doing wonderful.
And
I'm feeling a little under the weather today.
Oh, no.
But I'm here.
Where are you calling in from?
Calling in from the luxurious Colorado Springs here in El Paso County.
Okay, nice. Colorado Springs. So I haven't been there a lot. You know, I was born in Denver. And
okay.
Yeah, I moved to Southern California when I was a kid, and then I moved back to Denver to finish college, and then I moved to the Midwest. I know there's a big base in Colorado Springs, and it's about an hour south of Denver, yeah?
Yes.
All right, cool. And
yeah, we're here, the largest, only, and one and only Army base, Fort Carson, Colorado.
Oh, nice. How long you been out there?
So we have the pleasure of PCSing here in 2020, like in the height of COVID. So we got here November, a little bit October-ish. So yes, October. We got here in October.
Okay, all right.
2020. And we decided to build here. So we just did our, moved in July of 21. And it's been a crazy time.
Wow, July of 21. So you're going through your first Colorado winter right now?
Yeah, we haven't had much snow here. It's on and off. It has blown pretty much, I want to say we're like, you know, we have all these mountains here. And I think the way that depending on how the weather is coming in, it bypasses us.
Okay.
So we might not get anything. So we'll see.
We'll see, because I think April is your snowiest month, if I remember right. So, you know, the cool thing about that area, which was weird to me, that mountain weather was so strange. You know, growing up in the desert, wasn't used to that mountain weather. But, you know, around here, people say, oh, if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes, it'll change. It's not the truth, though. That mountain weather really is like that. You could get a foot of snow in the morning, and it's all gone by 2 p.m. out there. You know, because
that's the best part. I think that is the best part, because being in the military, no one wants to get up and go to PT in the morning for physical training. So if we can get some snow in between the hours of 4 to 9, then we might have a late work call, and depending on really how bad it is, like it was last year, then we will get to not come in, depending on, you know, your unit's discretion, if they really need you in, if you're not mission critical. So, yeah.
So, yeah, then you loving the snow. It's like a little mini snow day for you, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
We're supposed to get snow tomorrow here, so
Okay.
We'll see if it'll be a mini vacay tomorrow.
So we were in a class together not too long ago, and we were in, you know, getting to learn about the other people in the class, and when some of the other people in the military found out that you had an Army safety position, they were really intrigued because they didn't know about the safety position in the Army. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So my actual job in the Army is it's a 12 hotel. That's the series number, 40 level, which is E7, East Staff Sergeant or E6 to E7. And I'm a construction engineer supervisor.
Okay.
So being working at the division level, they are promoting, when it's time for you to retire, to find out about a career skills program. And I found out about the safety internship at the garrison level. So the division has their level of safety, which is more of the tactical side. And then the garrison is every other organization on Army military base, which includes the MWR, which is our morale and welfare type events, the gyms, the outdoor recreation centers. So those are the places that we would inspect, and the child care facilities on base, things like that. So I had the opportunity to get blessed off by my chain of command to be able to participate because I have submitted my retirement packet.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I'll be transitioning hopefully sometime in April.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, you are so welcome.
How many years you got in there?
I have 22 years.
Wow.
And it seems like it's been a lifetime. My daughter will say, no, you don't have 22, you have 23, which I do have 23, but I'm short by some months.
Okay.
So I'll exit with 22
wow,
instead of the 23.
We'll round that up. We'll round that up for you. So,
me too, right?
so you mentioned construction in the Army. Now, I don't think of construction when I think of Army or military. What is some of the things the Armies construct that they need, someone like you to make sure no one's getting hurt in the process?
So, since I've been in, I've had the fortune to build a lot of wood structures or help be a part of a lot of building on deployments. So places like Kosovo, which was like one of my first deployments, we got to build and help renovate some places and spaces, because sometimes we can use existing spaces to renovate and you still have to practice safety. So I've had the pleasure of building Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan, structures that probably no longer exist in Iraq and Afghanistan due to, the closures of the bases in those areas. So we just provide essential life and mission essential quarters and buildings and structures, and get to work along some of the other branches like Air Force and Navy, the other construction side. So I've had the pleasure of doing that, and safety is a must in all of those facets. From the person using the earth moving equipment, which we don't really get involved with. They're usually there before us, and then we'll come behind them and start, putting up our battle boards and stuff like that to start constructing a building. So yeah, it's very time consuming and rewarding at some point.
So help me understand, visualize a structure. Are you talking about a house, an apartment? What would be the closest civilian structure that we could equate to what you guys are building?
Some of them look like little houses.
Okay.
They have, of course, a roof and four walls. For different areas or regions in Europe, or we'll say the Middle East, you might have to build what we call a bee hut. And it can house maybe, depending on how long it is, You can house up to 10 to 12 personnel. Depending on how small, you might be able to only have like 4 people. And they're just really small. They don't have any running water structure from what things that I've built or helped construct. Some of them didn't have running water, but we had electric and heating. So it's mainly for life support.
Right.
To keep, have somewhere to sleep. Some other structures we did, and they still look like houses. And we call them for the communications or daily operations offices. Those have running electric. You might get a bathroom maybe in one area inside. So we might have a plumber or 2 or 3 to help construct that area. We have electricians, so they do that. The electrical. The carpenters will build up the walls, starting from foundation, if it's concrete, or footers. A lot of the time we used already pre-made footers that we would put in place. And, you build pretty much a joist, floor joist, subfloor. It can get pretty immaculate. It depends on who it is. Some things we built were big centers for I'm not going to say the unit, but for OPSEC reasons, they needed a space to have meetings or run operations out of when there was mission critical events going on while we were down range. And the spaces were pretty huge. And we would also do concrete pads for sidewalks. Chow halls, tent floors. We did a lot of tent floors in Iraq and in Afghanistan too. And they would just throw up a tent over the floor, and that way, you can keep bugs and rodents out. Because it would come off the ground a lot higher.
Oh, that sounds like a good thing. I've heard horror stories of bugs, in Iraq, Afghanistan, and I don't know if it's just lies, but you hear about these camel spiders and things like that. Is there any truth to that?
You're not far off.
Really?
The camel spiders are the truth, and the scorpions are the absolute truth too. We had a few people get bit by some scorpions. When we were staying in tents, as an engineer, you don't get to make your area all nice and purdied up, You're too busy focusing on taking care of everyone else. And you may, if you have enough time, to get your tent floor. But the first deployment I went to in Iraq during the very beginning of the war, we didn't have a tent floor. We had just our tents. And you would have to make sure when you got up in the morning to shake out your boots to make sure you didn't have any living creatures that could sting you, a.k.a. scorpions, snakes in your boots.
What kind of snakes did you have out there?
When you leave out for the day, I would roll up my sleeping bag because I don't want anything crawling in my sleeping bag. Because, you get tired and all you want to do is just lay down, and next thing you know, you're getting stung up and bit by something that it would take, mountains to get you to safety. So, yeah, it's been a lot of getting to see a lot of we call it hasty construction. Some things stayed up, and then some things didn't last through, Iraq and Afghanistan. They got, like I said, torn down due to the closures. But for the most part, we do a lot, and we're very self-sustaining. As the years have progressed, I think the construction in the Army has evolved. I really haven't. The last time I was in an actual construction unit was while I was in Georgia at Fort Stewart. So it says a lot about the construction world and just engineering as a whole. It has really evolved. I really don't get to see that side anymore since I'm more at the staff level now. So, yeah.
Now, growing up in a desert, I've had run-ins with a lot of desert creatures. My mom, she actually got bit by a scorpion in our house, just sleeping in her bed. Yeah. You mentioned snakes. So I grew up with red racers and sidewinders. What about out there in Iraq, Afghanistan? You mentioned snakes. What kind of snakes did they have? Any rattlers or any super venomous ones?
I want to say super venomous ones. Even while I was in Egypt, that's where, when I had PCS here, that's where I came from. And I did a year in Egypt, and they had snakes there, too, that were venomous. The main thing with the snakes, if you got bit, and if you could at least have a description of what it looked like, you might be saved.
Wow.
So you could get, depending on how far you were, you get to the venom. And I can't remember when I was in Egypt. The closest place for us to go, if something were catastrophic like that were to happen, get bit by something venomous, you would have to go to, I think it was Israel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen pictures of the camel spiders online, and I don't know if it was Photoshop, but those things look really big, like stupid big. Like it looks like a movie, prop. Are they as big?
Yeah, they look like a predator, don't they?
Yeah. Are they that big in real life?
I don't recall seeing them that big, but some people said they got really big.
Wow.
I just thought that was funny. Every time I would look around, you would see people, it looked like Photoshop to me, make fighting camel spiders. I'm like, they can't be big. I've seen some big spiders, like even as a drill sergeant over in Fort Jackson and the brown recluse, they get pretty big. Man. And I was like, that thing was huge. So if I could say the last time I seen a huge spider and compared it to a camel spider, they're probably about the same. And the brown recluse, largest I've seen, I can't even tell you how big it was, but he was huge. And after me and the soldiers all seen him, he seen us, I guess we ran off.
Well, that's good.
Because we weren't trying to kill it.
So a lot of these things that you have experience in, I can see them translating so well to the civilian side. It sounds like, if you went into like safety for like a big residential construction company, I feel like you would already just, have so much experience with all that carpentry and wood structures. And then also, too, I felt like if you got a job in the South, they actually have to deal with a lot of issues with snakes and spiders as well in construction, because you're going to, a desolate field that's nothing and turning it into something, and all that wildlife is there. And it's a neglected aspect of safety. It's talked about every now and then, but if you look at the stats of how many, civilian construction workers actually are bitten by something, it's pretty high. Yeah. It is a real threat that we deal with. We're always worried about falls and don't cut your finger off with the saw, and but brown recluses, black widows, rattlesnakes, that's all real threats too in construction.
Yeah, and they always, when we would get our safety briefings, you get a safety briefing before you start any work for any day on a Army construction site. They tell you not to touch the wildlife. Sometimes you don't have to go touching it. It's just, like you say, it just comes there because it's been pushed out from its original habitat and it's moved somewhere else that looks like something familiar to them, and you get bit.
Wow.
You have to mitigate it by at least having some type of first aid kit or someone, safety, another aspect of safety, medical personnel, if you have enough medical personnel to be attached or assigned to you in the military to be at your construction site. With us, we were already trained annually, and some places maybe every 6 months on some type of first aid. So if you didn't have that option or that luxury to have a medic assigned to you, your platoon, while you were in the process of building or being at a construction site, then you could definitely have someone like we talk about in the OSHA classes. As long as there's someone that's qualified or certified there to help with the first aid, then you're covered.
What's one of the some of the injuries you've seen as far as construction goes?
Well, I'll give you one of my infamous stories. I had the pleasure of using a nail gun for the first time and the last time. And I'm up here using this nail gun. I'm trying to header over a door with cripplers, little smaller pieces that goes between the header and the bottom, the top plate, between those two. And I'm just going and going, and then I stop, and I look at my hand. I'm right-handed, so I look at my left hand, and somehow I've magically put a nail through two fingers.
Whoa.
So I nailed my index and the second finger on my left hand together. Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
And then the pain came.
It was not funny. It was funny, but it wasn't funny. And most of the guys at the project site almost died, literally, like passed out. They were running around crazy, literally. So
that's not very nice.
Yeah, it was very. That part wasn't painful. It was a part where they had to take my glove off, because during the safety process, any construction site, as you already know, you need to have on some type of eye and hearing protection and a hard hat. And I had on gloves, which was great, but it wasn't like stop nail type gloves. I'm pretty sure those aren't out there. But anyway.
Right.
And yeah. So when they took it off, that's when it started, the adrenaline stops. It started to slow down. That's when the pain starts to increase. And the most painful part was having to get these lidocaine shots in my hand. And I'm thinking, oh, they're just going to give me one or two, for each finger. They gave me 2 in the top part of my hand, and then 2 or 3 more in the palm of my hand. And they had to have like 2 or 3 people hold me down.
Wow.
Yeah, because that part was painful. I was like, oh my God. And when they took the nail out, of course, I didn't feel it.
Well, that's good.
But that ended the use of nail guns on any project site during that time in Iraq. So,
man, yeah, that's something to think about, having an injury in that rural setting, and then having access to first aid and then medical, that's, I can see how safety would be of a real high of importance, because, around here, stateside people, that's probably in the back of their mind, like, oh, who cares? Hospitals down the street,
yeah.
Surgeons down the street, OR, ER, it's all there, best medicine in the world right there, but when you're in Iraq, Afghanistan, some of those other places you mentioned, man, you may be waiting a long time to get flown to another country before you're going to get some medical care that might not even be good medical care. It might only just be adequate medical care.
Yes, it depends on the expertise. And at that time, we were on the forward operating base. So we literally, where we were building at was like not, I can walk to the aid station. So we walked to the aid station and they tried to remove my glove and it was beyond their scope of work. So I just got driven to the cash and to the larger trauma center there on the base on the fob, and they were able to take care of it. And then eventually I had to start going for physical therapy because I could barely bend my finger at all because the scar tissue was starting to build up.
Ooh.
I got a little lucky there too because we had a physical therapy clinic there too. They really had expanded a lot of the medical care. I want to say after 2003, it really picked up because people were getting really, really like injured to the point where a lot of blood loss was more catastrophic than the actual injury. So in order for them to help to treat, triage and treat those type of injuries very quickly to help save lives and save the person, get them to launch stool, because that was the next highest level that you could get to before, if it was too serious to get you back to the States. So if you could make it back to Lyme stool, then you were pretty much probably going to make it. And in some cases, some people didn't, depending on the blood loss and the severity of the injuries. But for something like what I had, it didn't require any stitches or anything. It pretty much healed up on its own. And then the physical therapy aspect really helped to get me back to, being able to use it now. It's not 100%, but it does what it does,
As a safety person, we're always looking for scary stories and new ways to motivate people to just, follow the rules, wear their PPE, follow the standard operating procedures. And if I was there, I could see me using that all the time. Like, hey, put your safety glasses on, put your face shield on, put that guard on. Don't you know how long it's going to take for us to get you medical?
You know what? That's the hard part about being into safety. You are the number one target of the hatred. No one wants to deal with the safety. But as soon as someone comes to that job site and comes to see the safety and see if you're actually doing those things to mitigate those risks, and you get shut down because of some violation, now everybody wants to do their part. It never fails, but you have to be the bad guy when it comes to safety, because if not, then you literally people can get hurt, get killed, what have you. So it's important.
You just did a really good summary of why we named the show Evil Safety Dudes. Because, yeah, man, that's not going to change either. That's something that, I'm learning from you that's the same in the military, in the Army, as it is in the civilian population. They still all hate the safety person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I never understood it logically. Like, you, me, we're trying to make sure they don't get hurt. We know the medical attention may be something that they don't have a great speed at getting, or just we don't want them to get hurt, even if there is medical attention available.
Yeah.
We're there for their, long life and their good life, and they're not going through those traumatic incidents, but yet they look at us like we're there to hurt them. And, it's like, come on, guys, let's think about this logically,
Yeah. Now, I do have a question for you, Aaron.
Okay.
Since you've been doing this safety in consulting, do you have a lot of females and females of color in this field?
So I was talking to other people in other regions of the country, and they
Yeah,
were saying that females in safety were rare, but that's not
yeah.
been my experience here in Sioux City, Iowa. There's more females
Hmm.
in safety than men. Like most of my colleagues are women.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and as far as people of color in safety, not as much as Caucasian, but I have a lot
Yeah.
of, black and Hispanic safety friends and colleagues as well. I had Julian Goley on the show not too long ago. She is a woman of color in safety. She works for Toyota in this like aluminum smelting plant, like high, super high level safety job. She's my bud. We've
Yeah.
been friends for a long time. She's on the show, but yeah, a lot of the people that are hiring me to come into the plant to do a class or something or do some monitoring, the top
Hmm.
chief safety person is a female in my area. But what about you in the military? Are you a rare bird out there?
I would say our career field in general, just as construction, it has evolved. When I first entered the military, my first duty assignment was Germany. In my squad, there were two female staff sergeants at the time. One was Jamaican, and the other was Caucasian. It was myself, and I want to say two others. And then in the other platoon, because there were two, what we call vertical, they had, I don't think they had any female squad leaders, but they had female soldiers, maybe at least three, I want to say. And then in the earth moving platoon, they were a real rarity. And then they really started evolving. So it seems like there's more female earth movers or equipment operators than there were at that time. But now, I'd say there are, but it's not a great many. Now, at the internship, I'm the only female intern.
Okay.
In the office, at the garrison office, there's one female there. She was prior service. She's retired, but she works at the garrison safety office. She does goes out and does her inspections on a regular basis, and a lot of people like and respect her. And she is not afraid to tell them, hey, you need to get X, Y, and Z done
Right.
so you can be compliant. If you need anything, she's always willing to help people. She's not a nasty, vicious person like some people think women are. She's very knowledgeable, and if she doesn't know something, she will say, I don't know, and I will find out. And that has been my experience so far. And then the one young lady that was in class with us, who's doing some safety, I can't remember, Samantha, that's her first name.
Okay.
That one of the classes we were in together. I haven't heard from her, but it seems, and she's military and has transitioned out, retired out. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember.
It seems like it's something a growing field for women. I don't know if people are pushing for this field to grow, because I would have never thought about safety as a career option. When I saw it in the flyer for the garrison internship, at first I just thought, oh yeah, I just use this as a way to escape the section so I can transition out. But it has become taken on a life of its own now, and I'm having to choose whether I want to do safety or where I can fit in, because it seems as though the time that you need to have experience-wise, even though my Army experience, like someone like you saying, oh, your experience would be great for X, Y, and Z, may not be compatible with another company or consulting firm. So that's some of my anxiousness of when I get ready to transition out and try to figure out if I really want to do that or not because of the experience.
Right, and I wouldn't worry about it. You know, there's going to be a learning curve on any new job, but a lot of your experience is going to translate. Safety. If I had to go work for a scaffold company, or if I had to go work for a trenching company, I'm going to have to brush up on scaffolding regs. Yeah, I'm going to have to brush up on trenching regs, but safety. You know, I think your skills are going to translate, and there is a deficit of safety people. There, man, I'm telling you. People call me all the time. Do you know anybody that could come work for us? We have the safety position open. We haven't been able to fill it for 2 years. And
wow.
Yeah, so the safety professionals in America are rare. It's a rarity, and there's not enough of us, and there's always plenty of jobs, and there's always good jobs. We had a guy in the show, Ross. He was doing safety in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
He got out, and he moved to Sioux City. And right now, he is the city's safety manager.
Oh, my goodness. That's a lot of responsibility.
It is, but, you know, they looked at him and they looked at his military safety experience, being the safety person over a whole base, which is like a little city. And they're like, man, that skill translates. You know, you already know about all these divisions, moving parts, being spread out, different divisions doing drastically different things. Like you already got the experience we need. You know,
and that's good too. That's one thing I can say about the Air Force compared to the Army. My safety is just on my level of, okay, maybe I would help to be an NCOIC, and a non-commissioned officer in charge of M16 range, and those type of experiences of running different types of ranges or type of training events, whereas the personnel in Air Force, depending on at what level, they are given a bigger, seems like maybe in my view, and it's just my view, other people in the military, Army might disagree, but you know, you're given as much access as you can. Whereas the Air Force, you might be an E4 and you're in charge of a lot of stuff. And it just goes back to the training. But I'm happy that I had those experiences to work with, like the Air Force as an instructor, because they were really safety driven. Whereas, oh yeah, if something happens to soldier X, Y, and Z, just let us know. We just need to, you know, write up a report and send it up. Whereas their reports, they would write it up and it would, you know, kind of get posted out there. Hey, this happened, so we need to do this to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's just conveyed a different way, I guess, in the Army. If this happens, because we do have a big safety center over at Fort Rucker. And the safety center, along with the call, they call it, it's not just for accidents, but for lessons learned, for any training missions, just things that you're out and had an accident, rollovers and things like that, or what we can do better. It's basically an after action review, but with more lessons learned, what to do maybe next time, what not to do next time, and how we can prevent things. So the safety center is pretty your go-to as far as, hey, I got a motorcycle. I need to make sure I have X, Y, and Z things before I even get on it. So you're a safety in the Army regardless of any situation. You could be walking down the street and, hey, you're on your cell phone walking in uniform. You're not even supposed to be on your phone while you're walking.
All right.
So it's the little things like we talked about earlier.
I could think of a lot of companies right now that I think you'd be perfect for. I know this one company, they build little structures that just sit outside of cell towers to house,
wow.
I assume they house a bunch of electronics. But all they do is they build these little portable houses. And they're a big company in our area. And then I know a lot of companies, and I'm probably not going to say it right, but it's like these pre-built modular homes. It's a factory where they build a home.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they ship it out, you know. Or there's this other company, they build these sweet old school barns.
Yes.
Like beautiful barns. They build these in the factory, take them apart, ship them, and then a local contractor has to then put it back together on site. But there's so many of those type of jobs and companies in America. Just like I think what you were doing is just like perfect transition. But I wouldn't limit yourself to that because I think you could do anything with that experience. Because you were talking about concrete too. You know how many concrete companies there are? I got a buddy who used a safety for a concrete company. You know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of need for safety in concrete, and so I think your experiences would translate into a lot. Now, you mentioned the soldiers building. Are they called soldiers in the Army? Because I got corrected one time when I had the Air Force dude. He said, no, they're airmen.
In the Air Force, they are definitely airmen.
All right.
Yes, and you are correct. They are airmen. Army is definitely soldiers.
Okay.
And Marine, Navy, it depends. That's a good one. Now, their construction side is called CVs.
Okay.
And they are called seamen. Yes.
All right. Now,
yes.
Now, the soldiers you mentioned, they had to wear personal protective equipment too.
Yes.
Now, were they wearing hard hats like regular construction hard hats, or did they have a special military hard hat?
Let me tell you. So when I first came in, issued a beautiful little hard hat, and we go out somewhere one day, get ready to start up a project, and they're like, yeah, bring your ACH. Now, your ACH is an advanced, well, back at that time, it was Kevlar. That was called your Kevlar, your helmet. Bring your Kevlar, your gloves, your eye protection. And I'm like, well, we have a hard hat. Shut up. You're not wearing those. So my whole time in Germany from 2000 to 2002 was straight Kevlar. And then when I got to Fort Rucker, it was still from 2002 to maybe, I think we wore Kevlar ACHs at that time. It changed to ACHs probably in 2003, Advanced Combat Helmet. We were still wearing those. And then you would go throughout the cabals in Iraq or over in Kuwait and different places before you moved into Iraq. And you would go to different bases to go do some construction. You would see some of your other compadres from different brigades or battalions and different companies, and they would have on hard hats, whereas we were still wearing our ACHs or Kevlar helmets. Yes, the helmet that you would wear when you're actually going into combat, your ballistic helmet. Yeah. So we didn't finally start wearing them until I think I got to Fort Stewart after probably drill sergeant duty. We started wearing the hard hats. And, they were for construction. They had to be OSHA approved. They didn't want us putting stickers, and people would write on them and draw all kinds of crazy pictures on them. Very good artistry, I would say. And you would be doing something and you just hear a hard hat crash on the floor because it would fall off someone's head. So eventually we kept using those hard hats. But for a long time, my earlier part of my career, it was straight Kevlar helmet the whole time, which is heavy on your neck when you're trying to bend over and hammer something. So, yep.
Now imagine those advanced combat helmets are, you said they're Kevlar, so I imagine they're designed to, protect you from a round, from a bullet. But
yes,
I don't know enough about them to know if they would help you if a 2x4 hit you in the head.
they would, but since it was so heavy and so some projects, if you weren't on your actual forward operating base, you were actually off doing construction missions, so you could potentially you would have to wear a actual helmet because you were in the middle. When we were in Kosovo, they had some projects that we had to do that were off of the FOB, and it required you to be in full kit. So basically you would have your weapon, your M16, which is a long rifle, and then your vest at that time was just a Kevlar vest, not these high-speed with plate carrier type vests that we wear now, IOTVs, but in all your ammo, and then you would have your helmet on. And so you would have to bend over, and you have this one weapon slung to you. You're getting hit in the back of the knee by the muzzle of the M16, and you had your Kevlar on, and you're trying to do some form work because we might have to do some concrete work. And you're bending over, and this helmet is on your head. So your neck, the neck strain is incredibly annoying after about 30 minutes. And then you're just weighed down, like I said, with your full kit on. You can't take it off because, you're in the middle of a hot zone somewhere, and you have to have your gear on. So, yeah, it was heavy. And you appreciated it if something was going down, but at the most part, you couldn't appreciate the fact that, hey, my neck hurts and I have a headache.
Man, I really wish that every construction worker in America could hear that last segment there, because I can't tell you how many complaints I get from wearing a high-vis vest, which weighs nothing, by the way.
Yeah.
Wearing a hard hat, wearing safety glasses, steel-toe boots, and wearing gloves. They act like it's torture, but
it's not.
What you described, that sounds really, really, really difficult.
It is. It was. Your back is just done. Your feet hurt because you've been standing up for X amount of time. You might get to switch out, but you're not going to go sit down for like an hour. You're going to go and maybe man the 249, or you're going to go pull security while the other half, people that were pulling security before, can come in and take your place to finish up what we can, form work or what have you, so that way we can, go. Because you're in some places you're in hostile areas, and you don't have the luxury of just being out there with your hard hat. I mean, it's not conducive. There was a point where when I was in Afghanistan, we had hard hats and we were on the fly, but we would take so much incoming that sometimes we just started wearing ACHs because, they can see you. You can't really see them, and they're shooting or, sending in, sending rounds in on you while you're trying to, harden up this little cop or fob. So you don't get the luxury of, this is too heavy. So.
Now, you were talking about, all this carpentry and concrete. I'm just assuming there's some kind of actual trade training that these guys get, because not everybody knows how to do that stuff. So Was there some kind of...
Yeah, you get to go to what we call our AIC, our Advanced Individual Training, for depending on how long it was, 6 weeks for the Army, and then I think Navy was a little bit longer, and Air Force was a little bit longer. You learn how to do form work, some masonry. I never was good at the masonry portion. I don't know too many people that are good at it, but the ones that are have gained a lot of knowledge depending on what unit they were in that did a lot of masonry. It's a hidden talent if you know how to do masonry. But you do spend maybe a week or so on how to do construct a wall. Before you even do that, you have classroom portion where you learn hands-on, before you even get to the hands-on, how to do a bird's mouth, the mathematics that goes into constructing, how to read your tape measure so you can construct a wall, to move to the hands-on portion. And we got tested, I want to say weekly, and if you didn't pass, then you got another chance. I think you have to go through some type of committee if you failed a portion of the test. And a lot of the kiddos, when I taught plumbing, we had some that couldn't pass the carpentry math. And to me, the plumbing math was a little bit more stringent, but both are, you're dealing with a lot of fractions and things like that. In the measuring tape, we still had to go over that. So as an instructor, I had to teach pretty much everything that they had to teach carpentry, but just for plumbing. So I think ours was 6 weeks as well.
Wow.
You go through, like I said, framing, masonry. You had to make like little houses, small little houses, maybe you and I think a team of 4, depending on how many people were in the class. And you had to put shingles and hang doors. It was very humbling, I would say. I wasn't the best at it. I really tried. And then with us only getting the 6 weeks, you get to your unit and, oh yeah, by the way, we're about to deploy somewhere. And that's when you get thrown into the mix of fly by the seat of your pants kind of thing. If you had good leadership, then those guys were there. Your squad leaders and other team members were there to help, should have helped to get you familiarized with what you're going to be doing. But for the most part, it's a lot of on-the-job training, to be honest.
Now, one of the challenges in civilian construction is always deadlines, times, production schedules. You know, we got go. We should have had this built by this time and this date. Now we're 3 days behind, and oh no, they're gonna back charge us because we're not done on time. And speed and all that is like always this challenge for safety because they got to go. But I'm just listening to you talk, and I'm just imagining that it's probably more of a challenge in the Army because you may need, barracks or, sleeping quarters or whatever, or this structure built for some kind of mission critical safety reason. And it's got to go up even faster than, the deadlines in civilian construction. So, you might, talk about that, like, deadlines. I mean, that sounds kind of intense.
So we use the same thing that civilian contractors or personnel would use, like your critical path and project management type of systems to keep you on track. Our platoon leader and platoon sergeant would more than likely manage the actual schedules. And they would have to write out, like you said earlier, of what needed to get done and how many people, man hours for for walls, concrete. But I think the supply chain was sometimes more of an issue. So the issues that I ran into my last deployment from 2010 to 2011 were getting products or my building materials from one fob to a smaller fob, aka a cop. And the cop could be off in the middle of nowhere. It's not like you can just drive to Lowe's and be like, oh yeah, we ran out of screws. If I didn't order enough screws or over the amount of screws or nails and I ran out, it could be a week, it could be 2 days, it could take a long time because a lot of my wood would have to get airdropped by a Chinook, or a helicopter would have to get dropped to the fob because the routes would be black. So if you're not going out to help with a specific mission with that convoy, you weren't going back over to Salerno to go get, because that was the closest spot for me to get my BOM or my building materials. I couldn't just get in the Humvee by myself. Or, I'm going over to Salerno to go pick up X, Y, and Z. No.
Right.
Everything has to be coordinated. You have to keep on time on the schedule. With that particular one, I was able to have all of my products, but the products that I was getting, because I wasn't able to go to the BOM yard to pick my wood because it's not Home Depot. So you might have a private pick what they was sent to them because it's coming from different countries. And a lot of things people don't know. And one fun fact is my first mission in Iraq, we were building, we were still in Kuwait. And I think we had moved on into Iraq. We didn't realize that the nominal or the size of the wood wasn't to U.S. standard until we started trying to measure out, we're going to have 8-foot walls, but you might get a 7-foot piece of wood.
Oh, man.
A 2x4. And some of them were not true 2x4s or 2x6. So if you weren't paying any attention, like some of us youngsters weren't, we were like, this wall is just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Like, you spent maybe an hour nailing all this together, and you're like, who cut this? And we're like, I didn't cut it. He cut it. No, it was like that. And you realize the fun fact is that every country doesn't have the same metrics or measurements. So, that was a real fun time. And then you don't get the real straight pieces of wood either. You get what you get. So whatever they get, what country they get it from, because a lot of it doesn't, I'm pretty sure it didn't come from the U.S. If they had stuff from the U.S., then that stuff got used up probably by whatever other unit that was doing construction, wherever. But you had to work with what you had and make it work. And then for different missions, like I had guard towers. So mine were looked like little mini fortress. They were like heavy, made out of almost timber, like railroad ties for the legs for them to stand on, and some of the base. And we would build some of it, and like you say, we would have to prefab it, and then they would have to put it on, use a crane, pick it up, and put it on a lowboy trailer, and drive it, and pray that that convoy that particular guard tower was on didn't get hit by any IEDs, And they would have to send someone out prior to the convoy to make sure that it could go through the towns, because the towns' roads were small. So we had one mission where I built a team. We had a lot of people build a whole bunch of guard towers that I kind of was supervising over. And they went to take them out, and they didn't send a team out to do a recon of the route.
No.
They wound up bringing them back, and I think they had to airlift them, and I don't know if they even made it there. Yeah, they wound up doing something else with them for the actual file that we were staying on.
Man.
So, yeah, so it was a lot of logistics, and some of the things that we don't think about. You're like, oh, yeah, we can prefab this, but does anybody know which way it's going to go to get to mom and pop's house? No, we don't even think about those kind of things, because we just Americans, we take a lot of stuff for granted. I tell you, it's
we have some good infrastructure.
Of logistics and coordinating and communication. That's the biggest piece to safety in regards to anything, is the communication piece. You don't communicate, you can't say, I told you to be safe. If I don't communicate and you fall off the ladder, did you get your safety briefing this morning? No. Wow. So that's how simple it is.
Right. Well, Cordelia, we have hit our hour mark. That time flew by for me. I thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing your knowledge and your experience and all the different challenges that construction safety in the Army has. And, man, it's been awesome. You're welcome back on the show anytime. And, thank you for your service. And I hope you get a fat 6-figure job when you come on out, because you definitely deserve it. All that stuff you've been going through, but your experience too. People would be a fool not to hire you on to manage safety for their plant or their contractor job, because what you did was even more challenging. It'll almost be easy for you out here on stateside. So thank you so much. So for Miss Cordelia Fitcheard-Allen, I'm Mr. Aaron Iacino. Together today we are the Evil Safety Dudes and Dudettes. Until next time, everybody, stay safe.